So today's call will be going over how our agency or our basically our agency org structure and how we build and develop teams. Okay. Okay. So quick intro. So I founded Design Source Media, which is a web design development agency, and then I'm also the founder of DSM Talent, which we help staff full-time people from the Philippines. And I started my agency back in 2011. I'm a agency owner just like everyone else here. I currently manage a team of 15, and I'm a husband and father of 3 kids. Okay, so a quick intro about me. So when I first started, I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, you guys may be in it right now. I was when I didn't know how to run an agency. I was just working on side projects, working my full-time job, and then I had one client, and I'm like, okay, I got to make a choice: either climb the corporate ladder or quit and focus on my agency or focus on my business. So my schedule was split into 9 to 5 during the day. I would be doing networking events, lunch, coffee meetings, emails, doing phone calls, all the sales and marketing pieces. And then at night, I would be working on the operations. So we're talking, I ran a design development agency, so I would be building websites, designing websites at night. And this vicious cycle would continue on. And then hiring employees was really expensive. It still is. And then I really limited help. So that's kind of like how I started. This is me in the tiny little office. And it wasn't until like 2015, a few years later, I started building up that remote team. So I don't know. I take a really long time to do things. Maybe I'm stubborn. I'm really in certain ways I'm a perfectionist. But because of that, it has really given me a lot more time back. Okay. If you remember the second slide, I have 3 young kids now, so I don't have time, right? The kids suck up all my time. So I had to find ways way before right before I even had my first child. Um, so now hiring history in general is I started with my EA. Then I started hiring technical hires. And then from there, I promoted my EA and then hired more EAs and then promoted my technical hires to client success managers. Okay. This was more so starting from 2015. Prior to this, it was just pure trial and error. I was hiring contractors. At one point, I was hiring before it was called Upwork, I believe it was called Elance back in the day. I was hiring 2 developers. It was like one in India, one in Bangladesh or Pakistan. I was just hiring 2 developers for the same project because I was so concerned that the project, one developer would flake out, and then if I'm in the middle of it, I'll be screwed, right? And at the same time, during the day, I'll be working on I'll be doing this marketing and sales. So I needed to keep this engine running. And I essentially said, hey, this isn't, I can't survive on this. This is insane. So it's all about controlling that, being better at quality control and then not spreading myself out too thin. Another problem I ran into was I try to do everything, and I'm guessing for any agency out there right now that's starting off, it's like, okay, survival mode. I just need to figure out what to sell, build my productized offer. I didn't have agency U back then. It was more like, oh, well, I want to be this full-blown, full-service marketing agency. I'm going to build web design. I'm going to have websites, SEO, paid ads, everything under the gun. I'm going to be your all-in-one marketing service. And I didn't have any help. Okay. And it was, yeah, you get it. It's insane. Okay. Because that means if I didn't find help, I required to be an expert in all those areas. But at the very minimum, I needed to know enough to be able to communicate with these experts to say, hey, this is what the client wants and be able to deliver results, right? The clients don't care how I did it. They don't care if I spent 1,000 hours working on this stuff. They just want results. And I wasn't being able to provide the high quality results. So I reduced it all the way down to, okay, We're just doing design and development of web projects and maintenance of those web projects. We don't want to do marketing. I started subcontracting out, referring out to all marketing agencies, and that's what we do today. We don't touch any of the outside stuff. We just partner up with other agencies because they are now responsible, and it becomes a really good referral source too. And they know what we do. This is what we're good at. And when they pull us in for a web project, we crush it. Right. And even if they go through like we go through an RFQ process, we would destroy other marketing agencies when it comes to the web project side because of our expertise, like how deep, we get into it. And so that's the difference. That's our edge, right? That's our advantage. So I digress a little bit there, but I just want to kind of give you like the start of my start of my journey, and then kind of how it became, what it is today. Um, Right now, this is what it looks like. This is what our departments look like. Production, CST, marketing, and then under all of that is marketing. Oh, I'm sorry, management. Okay. Production is so this is from our web design development agency, but it definitely applies to if you're running like let's say a video agency, or you're running um, a marketing agency. Just think of it as production is when they're focused on project-based work. CST is the ongoing support. So even if let's say you're running a video agency, you have projects that are big project commercial projects, but then you have like the ongoing like social media content, the shorts. There's constant ongoing social media content that needs to be created, right? Video content that needs to be created. So that's more on the CST side. And then the marketing is our own marketing team that we're building, we're working on to run this whole operation. Management is our leadership, right? Ensuring that all divisions are running properly. So that's kind of how I split up with a 15-person team, how I have our department split up. Now, inside each department has teams too. So inside our production, I guess division or department is our three teams. CSM is our customer success managers, okay, management team, and then our design team and our development team. Okay. And they're all part of, so it's almost like every time we have a project, there's a CSM, there's a designer, and there's a developer assigned to that project. Okay? So each designer is working on more than one project. Each developer is working on more than one development project. But in the mornings, we have a daily call, and our whole production team comes together with to talk about these projects. And then sometimes the CSMs would have, actually not sometimes, on weekly call, CSMs would have theirs. Yes, client, creative, technical, yes, in a way, yes. More of like the creative is still across the board. But yeah, you can look at grouping creative as more like, yeah, for us it's like more project-based work. And there's because we're a website, it's project-based, and then once the website's launched, then there's maintenance of that project of that website. Okay, makes sense. Same thing. You're running, let's say you're running a marketing campaign. Well, you got to build the marketing campaign. Once the marketing campaign's running, then you got to follow up with it, monitor and create that feedback loop and tweak that campaign to see if it's working or not, or shut that campaign off, right? So that's now the support and ongoing maintenance. Um, So then basically this is what our production team looks like. Our two CSMs. We have our part of our CST person is our quality assurance, our web designer, and our developers. Okay. So that's all part of our production team. So production team, client, so our CSMs, our CSM team that's within the production, these are the responsibilities that they cover. Client onboarding, project kickoff, the liaison between client or agencies that we work with and our production, the rest of the production team, making sure we hit project milestones and updates, managing expectations and issues, also upselling and renewals, and post-launch support and ultimately building long-term relationships. Okay. So our CSMs do a lot. right? It's not just a project manager. It's not just an account executive, right? Or it's not like so it's a little mixture of everything. But ultimately, they're focused on the customer's success. And when the customer is successful and they're happy, right? We're happy because they'll continue to work with us, right? And they'll grow with us and we'll help them grow. So that's our CSMs. Um, Our design team, right? UX, UI, wireframing, prototyping, visual design, responsive design, collaborating with development, and client revisions. So another thing too I didn't add here is that well, it's just kind of part of collaborating. They do QA. They do the design QA. So what the designers are creating when the website is done, they're reviewing their work. They're like, yes, this is what I envisioned based on the designs, right? And then we also have a backend QA, which I'll explain later, but this is what our designers are responsible for. And then finally, development team, full stack development, implementing client requirements, testing and debugging, performance optimization, maintenance, and updates. So and even within our developers, we have certain developers that are front end developers or more back end developers, depending, everyone has their unique skill set. What we try to do is cross train, right? When it comes to like certain areas and departments, and even learning more about what other departments are doing or what other teams are doing, we try to cross train as much as possible. It's one of those things where it's hard to do when you have a team of contractors. Now, and onto customer success. So, we have Zyna. So we have our two CSMs, and then our QA, and then our DevOps. Okay, and our customer success team, CST, does the QA, for our website. So testing client deliverables, bug detection reporting, cross-platform and cross-browser testing, performance testing, client requirement validation, automated and manual testing, and documentation. One mistake that I've made, like remember in the beginning, I had like two developers I hired on Upwork to like build websites because they're just doing crap work. Um, I was the one just doing all the QA too, right? Um, and you cannot and you should not rely on the person building it to do the QA alone, ever, ever. Okay. I don't care what you're doing, be it web projects, video editing, even setting up marketing campaigns. You always want another set of eyes looking at it. Even if it was me programming the website, I would still want another set of eyes. Because when you're working on something for so many hours, for so many days and weeks, that everything looks normal to you. So you always want another set of eyes, and their responsibility is to ensure good quality delivery. Okay, and that's another thing that has really helped us up our game.
So, question
Another,
about the
yes.
QA. Like, I'm sure they have different expertise. So, for instance, if you hire a web developer, so would you hire another web developer just for QA, or would you have like a sort of like a general QA person to look at the website and not necessarily know about the back end?
So our current QA person knows a lot more about the back end now. It helps. It really helps. If you have a developer that knows the back end, because they can immediately read the code and they can even say like, hey, uh,
I see.
developer, the code that you've written here, it's not our standard practice. So another thing that we look at is if you gave me a site, let's say I had no clue, like if my team built it or not, and you just gave me the site and I looked at it, I would be able to tell you if we built it or not because we have our own signature, like our way of coding, our way of placing our custom code, our way of, doing certain things. Um, we would know immediately because we've standardized it. So our QA person would help with the standardization of all of our deliverables, and not just the QA, but also the the customer success person. But really, it's going through multiple checkpoints before it even gets to the client. The client shouldn't be saying, hey, this looks a little off. It's really a lot of times when they say something, it's like, oh yeah, shoot, I forgot to tell you this. Can you add this to this page? I'm like, oh, why didn't you tell us earlier? Oh well. So I digress, but that's usually the case. But yeah, the QA person, the more technical they are, the better. But not necessarily absolute requirement. I would say the most important thing with us and our team is that open, transparent, and trusting communication. We have to trust each other to basically call each other out on their shit. Okay. So when there's an issue, hey, no problem, right? It's not offensive. We're just doing our job. There's a problem with your code. Let's fix it. Okay. So that's pretty much our QA. So our systems engineer, our DevOps, he's handling like cloud infrastructure, systems, monitoring, maintenance, automating processes, data security and compliance. That's becoming more and more, complex nowadays. Troubleshooting and issue resolution, backup disaster, documentation. Because like the volume of projects that we work on and the offering that we have, we need a dedicated person now at this point for for someone like this. So now we have our marketing team. This is like currently in the build out. And so this is one of the things, one of the techniques that I do is that every time I build, so if I go back to here, okay, I didn't start off like next, day one, like boom, I built out all these teams, and all magically they run by itself with full autonomy. It doesn't happen that way. If you figure out how to do that, please let me know, write a book about it. You're gonna be rich, okay? But if you, so other than that, this is what you have to do, all right? You have to painstakingly, all right. Build each team yourself, set expectations, right? And continue to kind of set the standard and focus on your mission and your vision and your core values and course correct until you get to the point where the team has full autonomy. And that's essentially what I'm currently doing for the marketing team is that yes, unfortunately, even though I have this fancy title, CEO, president, right? I'm still leading the marketing team with our four team members here. Until the marketing team is self-sufficient, basically for us, we're running, we're building out the authority funnel, we're creating more content, there's consistency, we know exactly what ads to run, all that stuff. And then also we have a lead. So either one of these members will become the marketing lead, or I would hire from outside to fill my role. And then that's when I step away. Okay. Well, I give it probably a month or two, then I will step away feeling really comfortable with this particular team. But I do that the same way for the production team, for the CST team, for any team that I build out also moving forward in the future. That's how I build out my teams. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Dave, quick question.
Yeah.
How do you how do you handle the intern situation? Like how what's your process with that?
Um, it's no different than hiring a full-time hire, if that's what you're asking. Like, are you talking about like the training and development of an
Yeah,
intern? Yeah.
exactly.
It's no different other than I have to I prioritize their schooling over work. So if they have, let's say, an exam or finals or a project work at school, I say, hey, okay, no problems, work with that. But it's important that we know that schedule so we can reschedule and reallocate, the resources. So I prioritize schooling, and our hopes is that when they graduate, they want to stay here and continue to grow with us. Okay. And another expectation is that unlike our full-time hires, my expectation for the individual is they have a lot of already like skills, like experience in doing what they're hired to do. For the intern, their whole focus is to learn, right? To see what life is like at working in an agency or working in this particular role. So I actually invest even more time for an intern than our full-time hire, but still our standard practice is I'm meeting with all new hires every single day for the next usually next 4 weeks, every single day, sometimes in the first 10 days, twice a day. And it's like boot camp. I'm like drilling them. I'm essentially it's like torture to them, but I let them know it's like growth, right? It's like no pain, no gain. And this is like, I mean, I don't try to burn them out, but I let them know, if they want to move forward faster and they can, I will provide more information. So they can pace themselves, but I do set that expectation. So that's kind of how I develop in general all hires, but interns specifically, I try to relate more of the stuff that they're learning at school, and some of the stuff that is applicable. And interns are young, so that's another challenge too. So it's like hard to find like experience, like work experience, because this is their first job, chances are. So I try to relate more of like what they've done at school, what they've done outside of work, and try to challenge them in those ways, right? And my mindset is even if they choose, and for anyone, and anyone, even if they choose not to work here, they leave, or heaven forbid, like our company goes under. I know for a fact or very confidently that every single team member will have no problems finding another opportunity. Okay. And that's the kind of mindset that I have. And if I can build a team like that, that means we're rock stars, right? We go in, we're like firefighters. We're going like a SWAT team, and we complete our mission, we get out. Okay. So I know I digress a little bit, but does that make sense on the intern side?
Yes.
Okay. So marketing team, brand awareness, promotion, lead gen, content marketing, social media management, SEO, web optimization, client marketing support, campaign tracking analytics, sales and client outreach support, and brand messaging and positioning, right? So just typical marketing related responsibilities. So this is our management team. We have a question here. So are all your employees local, part of your brick and mortar office, or remote, wherever the world? Okay. So I eat my own dog food. I'm the only person in Michigan, in the US. Everyone else you see here are in the Philippines. So I've managed to build and scale a team that's full remote. Okay. And obviously there's huge advantages and there's definitely challenges too, right? I don't get to talk to someone in person or sitting next to me. Sometimes, there's cultural differences too. So knowing to work through those things is important. But yeah,
So,
everyone is remote. Yeah, go ahead.
so I have a follow-up question. How do you ensure that they, other than through giving them amazing salary, how do you ensure that they stick with you, that they they're not gonna be, searching for alternate projects? Let's say you mentioned Upwork, so go to Upwork and do projects that could potentially interfere with um your own business.
Yeah, yeah, I love that question. I would ask you the same thing, like, how would you ensure someone local or someone in the US would not do that, right? And and the answer is you can't stop someone from doing a side hustle. At the same time, I would be a hypocrite because you know what happened? I was doing my 9 to 5, and then I'll be working on web projects on the side to grow my agency. So I would be really hypocritical if I made my team members to like not tell them not to do that. And even if I said that, US or not, I can't force someone to not do things on the side. I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to monitor them, right? This is not like Big Brother, right?
No, I
Kind of
don't
look.
mean that they wouldn't be allowed to do anything, but that it doesn't interfere with your own, timelines, etc.
Yeah, so our culture at our organization is that we have basically we're results oriented, not time based. So we don't I don't really care if they put in the full 8 hours. If they worked 2 hours, 8 hours, 18 hours a day, But I do care if they work too much. Okay, that means they're not doing something right, right? They're going to burn themselves out. So our expectation is client needs X. Client needs to solve these problems, or internally, our company has these challenges. We need to solve these problems. How can we solve this problem with the limited resources that we have? Right? With our team members, with maybe using technology like AI, what can we do to really make big changes and solve problems without without just cranking out time? So you asked basically part of your other question is the concern about people like leaving, right? Is this like is that true? Like people leaving, people finding another opportunity, right? Is that Ian or
Well, Ivan.
Ivan?
Well, actually, no. It's because I'm probably in the beginnings,
Yeah,
somewhere where you've already passed through that. But for instance, I have a few editors, and let's
yeah,
say we had some delays on a scripting side, and there were
yeah,
changes that were initiated by the client. And in the meantime, one of my regular editors managed to pile up loads of projects onto his schedule, and that eventually ended up interfering with our own project. So I just wanted to know how whether you know any good practices to ensure that those people, I don't have anything against them looking for something else, but that they don't end up taking on extra projects because they, let's say, if they feel they're not getting enough work from you, or how do you ensure the
Mm,
more loyalty, towards your brand?
okay. I wouldn't. Okay, so a few things to unpack there. To it goes back to what I earlier said. It's about results oriented. If you focus on that first, then because setting expectations, right? In the beginning, even before during the recruitment process, during the hiring process, you're letting the individual know that, let's say they're an editor, right? I need you to do per day 3 shorts and 2 long form. And this is how long it takes. Let me show you some samples, right? And this is the hours that you need to be available for the team to interact and talk. And this is your compensation and your benefits, all these things. This is expectation setting, right? If you don't set clear expectations, then I mean, what does Austin say? There's frustrations, right? So you're gonna frustrate both parties, you and them. So setting clear expectations is number one. Number two is when there's expectations that are different or unmet, so on your end, like, hey, you're not delivering. Remember what we talked about? This is what we asked you per day. What's going on? And the first thing I do not go to is like, oh yeah, maybe they're working on a side thing. Maybe there's a family problem. Maybe the internal stuff, right? Internal conflict. So that's something that you as a leader will need to figure out and adjust and have backups. Okay. Or what I really focus on is the building of systems and processes. So those are just tips. And so since you asked for it, right? Like, what can I do to mitigate this, right? Because what happens? What happens if someone gets hit by a bus, right? What happens if they want to go on vacation, right? And so for us as an organization, to minimize the impact to our customers and to ourselves and to each other and our overall company, we build systems, build SOPs, and we cross train, and we have that culture of communication and collaboration. So there are things where money, I mean, jokingly, yeah, it's like, yeah, there's a price for everything, but you're going to pay a lot more if you want to buy someone's loyalty, or if you can even do that. All right. So another example would be, because we run a staffing agency, our roles are public. So there are internal team members that there are times where like, hey, this new role is awesome. I would love to work here. They pay more. You know what I would say? Oh yeah, that's great, right? Go ahead, apply. right? And I hope you make it, right? We'll still go through the standard process, right? But also they decide not to because they know that yes, we may not pay as much as our agency partners do, but we have our own unique culture, and they feel that it's a very stable environment. So you want to look at the generation and the type of individual that you're hiring to. If you're hiring Gen Zs or millennials or Gen X or boomers, right? Boomers are pretty much retired now, right? So you also have to look at the type, but usually for an agency, you're hiring millennials and you're hiring Gen Zs. So you want to look at what their priorities are, what's important to them, um, and knowing that the side hustle, the gig thing, it's hard to stop. But what I emphasize in my one-on-ones is that okay, well, make sure you have time for yourself. Make sure you don't burn out. Make sure that if what is the reason behind it that they're doing this side gig? Is it because they don't make enough money? Or is it because they don't have the benefits? Or is it they just want a creative outlet? Right? There's a lot of factors too that could be the reason. So it's one of your responsibilities. Yes, I know you feel like you didn't sign up for this, but you did, right? As a leader of this organization, that you have to understand your own people, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Yep. So sorry, I a lot to cover, but yeah, it's I wish I could give you a
Dave,
direct answer, like, hey, do
Dave,
this.
sorry,
Yeah.
I have have another question.
Yes, Sebastian. Hmm?
Um, for your team in the Philippines, do you have an office there and then they come into that office, or are they all remotely?
I used to have a co-working space there. I realized that it was pandemic too. It's people didn't like it. It just like it takes them an hour and a half to get into the office. There's an expense to the office. So nowadays, everyone works from home.
Oh, amazing. So this whole team, you can set it up from anywhere in the world, basically.
Anywhere in the world. As a matter of
Amazing.
fact, my executive assistant right now, today, is in Vietnam. I just had a call with her in Vietnam.
Nice.
Yeah, she's spending 11 days there for her birthday, with her boyfriend, and she's spent and also my other teams too. They've been to Japan and Thailand and Taiwan. And when they're traveling, they bring their company laptop with them, and so they can work and play. And I encourage them, hey, when you're going on vacation, you have PTO days, go take your PTO days. And no. I want to make sure everything's going well, right? Like this is our culture, right? Their mindset. Like, hey, I want to make sure like I check the emails. I don't want to let my team down.
Super.
I wouldn't want to let my team down. So they're traveling with their laptops. I didn't ask for that. I actually discouraged that. I want them to enjoy their trip, but that's our culture now.
Nice.
So you can kind of see all remote team, we can work anywhere. Because also part of me, the selfish part of me is like, I don't want to be stuck in one office location. I've worked in the corporate world before. It sucks. I don't want to go anywhere for work. Heck, sometimes I don't even want to meet a client in person. Right, let's be honest. Um, so like I prefer everything remote. Like if I can help someone, it doesn't matter, or if they can help me, it doesn't matter where they're at.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I just one quick follow-up question?
No, I love it. Yeah, bring the questions on. Yeah.
Since you have the remote team, which is pretty much my case, I have different people all over the world as well, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a way to kind of unify the culture and the abilities of these people. So I wanted to ask you, do you do like daily Zoom or Google Meet meetings with them, or do you still handle them one-on-one?
So
Or do they actually cross communicate and have a chance to speak and virtually meet each other, etc.?
yes, yes, and yes. So our teams, if you go back to this diagram here, each of our teams have their daily calls. Okay, so production has a daily call, CST has a daily call, and then the marketing team has a daily call, essentially. Okay. So they're like the morning stand-ups, the daily, scrum calls. So that's on a daily basis. We have a company meeting once a month. And then I have a one-on-one with every one of my members, team members, on a monthly basis. They can always and anytime book a meeting with me. They have full access to my calendar. They can book a meeting with anyone else in the company. We also use Slack for communication. We also have a Zoom open at all times with breakout rooms. So they can jump into, and so most of our team members are already there unless they have a separate like meeting. There's these Zoom breakout rooms that they're just hanging out in. Okay. So it's like virtual offices. Make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because I'm still at the level when I literally just have regular freelancers that I have been working with for, let's say, months.
Yeah.
But I don't see them, and I don't think they see themselves as my employees or my team
Yeah.
or
And fundamentally, that is the challenge, right? You hire a contractor. According to the IRS in the US, you cannot dictate that they do these morning calls. You can't control their work, okay? According to the IRS. So, but in general, contractors, their mindset's different anyways. They're running their own business. You're not the only client, right? If they want to be successful as a contractor, they need multiple gigs, multiple projects. If you're their only client, then they become an employee, and they're just an employee, and that's not really what they signed up for. So, but then the other hand, if you hire someone full time as an employee, they don't want to be a contractor. They want stability. That's more of a priority to them. Stability, benefits, being part of a team, working with others, being able to, talk to them and have a team that has their back. Okay. And that's the like the mind shift, the difference between and I'm not saying all contractors like that or all employees are like that either, but in general, right? Um so that's why it's hard to expect. I tried like, hey, contractors, can you jump into our daily calls? They look at me like I'm crazy. Right? I mean, you try to ask your contractors to do a daily call like that, right? It's like, dude, you don't pay me enough. You want to pay me hourly for that? Okay, I'll do it. Right? So, yeah. So management team, pretty much I have our CSMs, my accountant, and my EA, my director of ops, and our HR manager as pretty much currently our management team. And so what does the management do? Provides strategic guidance, oversees operations, manages client relationships, and manages financials, payroll, and reporting. So here's the cool thing about it. As you grow, as you build a bigger team and a strong team, is that all these decisions you had to make by yourself, and maybe it feels like that today, right? You have to make all these calls yourself. Like, oh man, there's a fire, or there's an issue, or oh, what's our budget looking like, or how's our monthly budget? Are we doing well financially? And you have to do that all by yourself. But like literally this morning, I was talking to our accountant and she gives me a monthly report and she tells me, yeah, this department's doing great. And oh, this department's doing even better this month. Compare if we do these things, I think we're definitely on track and we'll be able to give everyone a 5% raise in the next 3 months. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I can sleep better at night now. Right. And I didn't put together, that report. My accountant did that. So it's one of those things where if you continue to get through the most difficult part, in my personal journey in 13 years of running this agency, the most challenging part was the beginning. Because once you start building up the team correctly, then it makes everything else so much easier. Yes, do we still have fires? Do we have still challenges? But it's less so because I have other team members that are building the systems and preventing the fires more and more and more. So this is the future. of our next division is, so once I complete the marketing, for us would be building up the sales team. I unfortunately am still doing all the sales, the closing of sales. Yes, this our CSMs are doing sales in a way for our current customers. But if there's a brand new customer, a brand new prospect, I'm still talking to the individuals. So my next step would be building that sales division. Okay, remember, I've been doing this 13 years and I'm still here. Okay, so don't beat yourself up if you're like, yeah, I just started this year, or I've been running this for 2 years and I haven't had all these departments. Not only am I a little slow in building this out, but I am really particular and I want to build it right. So don't worry about taking your time. Take your time, build it right, and create that stronger foundation. So developing teams, so efficient, and also making sure you have a really good efficient onboarding process, clearly defined role definitions, so that AKA setting expectations. You want to have a good career pathway if possible, skill development and training, and performance reviews, structured feedback and unstructured feedback. Like our team members would call each other out on their shit. That's our culture. And then SOPs, right? And making sure that we continue to do that. So using project management tools, track progress and results, and consistency with SOPs. My team would know all the time whenever there's an issue and we go through a debrief, or when we run into something, I would ask, do we have an SOP for that? That's like my default statement. And so now it's like programming, like, oh yeah, David's gonna ask for SOP for this. We better share, like, our current draft of the SOP before he asks for it. So it's just like the habits now. Amy, one of my longest hires. She's been working for me with me for 8 years now. She started off as my EA, and now she is our director of ops. So it could be the same thing for you, and it's really nice. It's really, really awesome to have amazing people to work with. So any questions? Is this helpful? Yes, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Super helpful. So, like we had our call to talk about joining your agency, or like, um and so we talked so in my case, it's kind of a specific question. We talked mostly about hiring EAs.
Mhm.
What else do you offer in your service? Could we hire, like, editors and different, like, the team members that you have? What's your process for
Yeah.
if we wanted to hire those people as well,
Yeah.
developers and
So
editors?
yeah, we all of our roles that we have for our agency on our web mark design development agency, we have no problems placing because we're already experienced. And whenever we place a talent, we basically vet them as if we were going to hire them ourselves. So that's the level of expectation that we set, the bar that we set. Um, and second of all, EA and video editors are our two most popular roles. So those are our two most popular. We do have some web dev roles, but in general, and we're starting to get more CSM, customer success roles. But the CSM roles is usually later on. You want to start off with an EA or your technical roles first.
Mhm. And so, follow-up question, thank you, is like, what would be the limit to the talent? Because, in my case, I also want to hire coaches, um, and expand my agency as like more of a coaching agency. And if I want to scale, I would have to hire coaches and, teachers and tutors, because I target students, right? So, what would be the limit as to, like, the talent, um, that we can hire, in the Philippines?
I would say that's a funny question. It's like saying, what's the limit? If imagine if you were in the Philippines and they said the same thing about us in the US. What's the limit of hiring people in the US, those Americans? Right? I mean, dang, have you seen the election? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I know it's sorry. I don't want to bring politics into this shit. So it's like saying the same thing, right? It doesn't matter. Are they, a different country? Are they from Mars, right? Are they from a different planet, right? It's the same thing. We're humans, right? So culturally, yes, it's different, but also culture in your own organization is different too. So you have to just know the, even just state by state, right? The people in Ohio is way crazier than the ones in Michigan, right? I'm in Michigan. So it's just like different state by state even. So you have to know the people in the Philippines. And in general, I can say, I think what you're alluding to is that what is like the most common, most popular, easiest roles to
Yeah.
fulfill.
Yeah, that's
More of the technical, like EA, more simple roles for remote role. But I'm not saying that. Can you find a CEO in the Philippines? Absolutely, you can. Can you find someone that will run your agency? Absolutely, you can, right? It's just rare, but just it's the same thing. Can you find someone here that can do that? Right? It's just as hard. So what's better, I would say, or a little bit easier, is to develop your own team members. Doesn't matter if they're Philippines or not, to get them in, just like Amy here. Um, EA to director of ops, right? She's running the whole operations. Okay. So I would say for hiring, initially hiring the more technical or more simple roles like an EA or like a video editor or developer first. And then later on, as you get a better understanding of what you want and what your needs are as an agency, then you can pinpoint like I know exactly what I want. And it might take you 6 to 12 months to find that executive, all right, to fill in that role. Um, so that's what I would say. Oh,
thank
and
you.
question for salaries. Okay, yeah. Kind of comparison. If you're in the Philippines for an EA is around 1,500 a month. In the US for a W-2 equivalent, 5 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand a month. So you're paying 2 to 3 times less if you were to hire someone in the Philippines. And this is a W-2 equivalent, right? So that means they're getting Social Security, government benefits, they're getting there's this housing benefit, there's labor law protection, right? If you're a contractor, like okay, 1099, not much protection, right? You're self-employed. But when you're W-2, there's more protections, right? So it's the same thing. And that's why we're able to find better talent because of that benefit alone, because people need that and want that. Um, so, so anyways, 1,500, and that usually even includes our fees, and base salary and benefits. You can get it a little lower, if you were to hire direct. Let's say you go to onlinejobs.ph, and you hire direct, but you would essentially hire them as a contractor, and you would have to, send the funds, wire the funds, and do all that yourself, right? So, I'm giving you both sides, all options here.
Hey Dave, I got a quick question.
Yeah,
So all of this was like super useful information. So thank you for that. Um
thank you.
Now the thing is that I think about is what is your disciplinary structure, for your team? Like, for them being, VAs and in the Philippines and stuff like that.
Yeah. So basically we have a three strikes kind of program. You got by the third one, they go into PIP, performance improvement plan. And so in the beginning, there's actually an official form that they fill out. All right, I'm gonna stop my screen share. So there's a form that the manager fills out if they're not performing. And usually before the form fills, there's a simple like discussion, like, hey, by the way, can you stop doing that? Or hey, I know you were late for that call, but make sure if you're running late to communicate to us. Just one scenario. So then if they do it again, then the manager will fill out that form, and that form will indicate like exactly what the error was or the mistake was and how they can correct it and what we would like to see change. And so that's the first warning. And then the second warning, same thing. The third warning, okay, when that happens, they go into this PIT plan, which means not just a monthly one-on-one. Now it's pretty much like a weekly, almost a daily or constant discussion, because our goal here is to prevent someone from getting terminated. Okay. We don't use
Yeah.
it as a tool to fire people. We use this tool to keep people from getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if they fail during PIP, okay, they know without, with certainty, all right, that they fucked up.
Yeah.
Right? It was not clear. There's no, it's not personal. It's that they did not perform. They didn't meet expectations, and we asked for it multiple times. So we give our team members a lot of chances, but also at the same time, it's fair for everyone across the board. So it's not like, oh yeah, I like this person. And this is the dangerous path that you can follow, right? As a leader, there's emotions, right? There's like personal feelings and everything else, right? And then you don't want to like give one person more, over the other, more priority over the other. So by having a system like this, it takes the emotion out of it and it just sets a standard. There are times where in the past, I had to let someone go that failed the PIP, and it pains me because I know they were an amazing person, a good person, but they just failed the PIP, and ultimately it was the best decision because they were failing, it affected the rest of the team and their performance, and that's what we have to set our values to. Okay.
Wow. So the PIP process lasts 30 days?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
sometimes if we don't see improvement, we may extend the PIP. But if they pass the PIP, then then they go back into technically the second warning. And then if they repeat it, let's say after they got off of PIP, they go back
Yeah.
on.
Got you. Got you. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right, thank
And then
you.
at the end of the year, we pretty much provide a clean slate. After like let's say 12 months, we reset it, and it's not like there's always a second warning over their heads. So we look at it from a case by case basis. So if the warning is so different from some other things, then we may give it some leeway. But if an individual, they're usually related. If there's multiple things that are happening, then it's usually one core issue that's the problem. And also at the same time, we're not monsters here. We are very considerate about like, okay, maybe the person they're late for work because they're literally pregnant and they're on their third trimester, okay?
Yeah.
Or they're having some family problems or other issues, right? We don't force people to tell us their personal issues. Um, they usually share that with us. That's the kind of culture we have because we trust, then there's that level of confidence that we keep it internal and we don't share the whole world. And we're here to help that individual and not use that against them. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that type of mindset, the team members, right? I think Ivan was mentioning like trust, right? In order for someone to trust you, you have to earn their trust. You have to trust others first too. So that's kind of mindset we have. So that's kind of how we get someone off of PIP. And there are times where, yeah, I've had team members that have been on PIP multiple times, and they're amazing. They've been working here for 4+ years now, and ultimately we found a better role for the individual, through this discussion because it might be a role problem too. Like they're just not a good fit in this particular role, so we shifted them to another role. We were at that point fortunate enough to have the funds to support that because the last thing I want is to let someone go because they're not performing and to find someone else because it's also very expensive to rehire, right?
Mm.
Not just financial, but think about the time it takes. It takes us 90 days to onboard someone. And then also, it's just like for us, I mean, I don't know, I'm getting a little older now. I don't want to make new friends. It's work. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to make new friends? I don't know. So it's like it takes time. And now all of a sudden, oh, I gotta let someone go. It's like a really good friend. And they know us, they know our systems. So we try to minimize that.
Right, right.
Um,
Okay, great advice. Thanks, Dave.
yeah, no problem. So
Dave, I
what do
have
you
a.
okay,
I'm so
oh,
sorry. I
go
have a
ahead.
question.
Yeah.
Um, could you explain a little bit about how DSM talent works if we like say we were to hit you guys up to hire a VA or
Okay.
a personal assistant? Sorry.
Yeah. So, first of all, if you want to learn more, you can definitely schedule a meeting with me. Just go to
Yeah,
dsmtalent.com, the
yeah.
booking.
I'm a schedule. Yeah, I saw it already.
Yeah.
I'm scheduling one.
So, high level, basically, we to summarize, we are like your HR department. We handle your recruitment and we handle management, so payroll, benefits, and everything else on an ongoing basis. So we go through the whole recruitment process, understand what you're looking for. We find the talent in the Philippines, and we endorse the candidate. Once they're vetted, we feel that with someone that we would hire ourselves. And then we go through the interview process with you. Basically, just the interview. And if you like that person, this is generally for the EA. A video editor role is a little bit different. And then finally, they're hired and we manage their benefits. And then also we can do other additional stuff too. Like we can help you with your IT asset management. We have company events that we can invite, your team member to, and you can join us in the Philippines if you like. So there's other things that we set up. Like we usually have like 3 to 4 events throughout the year. So there's like little extra stuff that we do that your team can be part of. And as far as the fee goes, that's usually the other question. It's an engagement fee of $9.99, and then whatever the monthly role is, like an EA would be $1,500 a month, usually depending on their role. It's like a salary, right? Negotiation. It depends on their seniority level and expertise, but usually it's about $1,500, and that includes everything. That includes the fees, their base pay, and their benefits. So that's
Nice.
kind of how it works.
So it's like $1,000 to get started plus the salary, and then after
Yep.
that's just the salary, right?
Yeah, so just ongoing is that $1,500. So we make a
Got it.
little bit
Okay.
from that
Yeah. Yeah. Of
to manage the talent.
course. Got it. Amazing. Super. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then I think is it Anish said, what do you think about competitive environment in the company? So I'm very competitive myself. Okay. Like I've always been really competitive. So some of the things that you might want to it's perfectly fine. Just be careful being too competitive. If you're too competitive, now it's like cutthroat and people are trying to step on each other and trying to like one up everyone. But a little bit of friendly competition, it's okay. And I try to look and build a competition of not about like us internally competing against each other, but also just giving everyone insight of like we're being competitive to match our goals, to reach our goals for this quarter, for this month. Like, can we do it? Right? And what does it take to get there? And what are the incentives to reach that goal? So and also other competitors. When we let's say we lose a client, we go through a debriefing. Like, why did we lose that client? Or like, oh, a competitor, we lost that bid. Why did we lose that bid? Right? And we break it down and I talk to the team like, what can we do better? And it just usually puts a fire under me and others on the team. Like, yeah, why did we lose that? Right? And we gotta make these changes, and we start making these changes so we become stronger as a unit. So does that help? Cool. Any other questions before we wrap up?
I have so you mentioned Amy has been with you for 8 years and she
Yeah.
started as an EA.
Yeah.
EA is slightly better than a VA, right? If I understand it right.
Well, it's not slightly better or not. VA is like a general term, virtual assistant, right? EA is more of a specific role as a VA, right? Usually people like they use it interchangeably, but in technicality, like VA is just someone that works for you that's an assistant that's virtual. So they could be assisting you, and it can be a VA in social media, so social media VA or general VA. So it could be a lot of different VAs. But in EA, it's particular in executive assistance, and that means it's focused on the executive, focused on the CEO, making sure that they get their time back. Make sense?
Right. Okay. So would an EA be the first person that you would recommend as a full-time employee?
Yes.
And what sort of roles would you offload on that very first person then?
My calendar, my emails, my meeting notes, maybe some little things like, oh, hey, I need to post on social media, just little things, right? Can you post for me? Oh, I need to do some research. I need to ship this out. Can you do the calculations of the shipping costs, or from this location to this location. Just like little things, right? Oh, I need to
All of
schedule
the
a meeting.
more tedious tasks that could impede your
All the
relevancy.
tedious tasks. Yeah. Like you're the all the little tedious tasks that you have to do. So that way you can focus on like the strategy with the client, the sales calls, the actual technical work. Let's say you're a video editor or you're a web developer, right? Focus on that.
Right,
Would you
right.
also have them
And
help you manage your clients at the beginning or no?
You mean onboarding or just like the initial like call?
Like say you have a project ongoing and you have vendors already working on this project, would you also have your VA kind of following up or helping you follow up
Yeah.
with the vendors?
My EA, after let's say a call with the follow-ups, let's say it's a sales call, my EA would send out a short email like, hey, we talked about this last call. Are you ready to move forward? Stuff like that. So she has my inbox and she knows how to like respond to those and follow up with our prospects that way. And also with our clients, well, it's a little different. To answer your question, yes, your EA can do that. For us, we have CSMs that do that now for ongoing follow-ups for our clients. But for our but in the beginning, your EA can do those little things. Just be careful that your EA doesn't end up doing everything in your organization and
Right.
don't burn him or herself out, right? So you want to look at capacity, and at that point, it's a great opportunity then to either A, promote your EA to one of those specialized roles, or keep your EA and start hiring more technical roles or other roles to fill in. So that way, take some work off your EA's plate.
Got it. Amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dave. This was very, very helpful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And another cool thing is my EA is like my therapist in some ways. Every morning we talk and she has all my, like this, David, these are all the things that you're doing today. These are all the things I'm doing today. And then we would go through these points and I'm like, oh man, I don't know, what should I, how should I handle this? Oh, what about this presentation? What do you think about this slide? Right. And she would just like bounce ideas with me. So yeah, it's part therapy, So it is. I should, I feel bad for her sometimes, but it's like I got a vet. Uh, any any
would you recommend what would you be your recommendation to hire new people, brand new people, or if you already worked with subcontractors and freelancers, transition them to become full-time employees?
So I've done both. I've actually hired someone from Upwork, and they're like, man, it's really awesome working with you guys. Can can I work for you full time? So I've had contractors that ask for that. Um, I would say ask the person first, right? Do you want to work for us full time? And what are the benefits and why, why work here? And this is our mission or vision. And Austin talks about that a lot too. And because he's done it quite a few times, bringing on a contractor and growing them and developing them. And now I believe his video agency the person that runs it was the one that was originally a contractor. So you definitely talk to Austin about that. And but for me, it could go both ways, right? You can find someone, it's just mindset. Initially, someone that's filling out the job description, the application for that particular full-time role, they already have that mindset of, hey, I'm going to be working full-time for you and I want to grow with your organization. Usually a contractor doesn't have that initial thought. Or you might get them to the point where like, oh man, they're just burning out. They're like, I don't want to run a business. I don't want to deal with marketing. I don't want to deal with sales. I don't want to deal with the legal stuff, the HR stuff. I just want to build things, right? And then at that point, you can then pitch the contractor and say, you want to work for me? You want to just do the things that you love, right? I'll take care of the rest for you. How's that? Sign me up, right? But you have to have the organizational structure to have that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess with contractors, you also have to keep in mind that a lot of them don't want to have one particular boss, for instance.
Yeah,
They feel free. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. Or
Okay.
maybe they haven't met Ivan yet, right? They haven't met the right boss, right? So it could be that.
All right, cheers.
Yeah. right. Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, this reading will be recorded. Since someone asked for the slides, I'll share the slides too. And if you have any questions, feel free. You can DM me at Agency U, and you can also email me or message me anytime. And also, I'd love to get any other insights or feedback of what other content you want me to present. If you have any other questions, so I'll put into and build a training session over on that. So, all right. Well, thank you. Talk to y'all later. Have a nice weekend.